The substitute teacher buys supplies with own money, not realizing a student's parent owns an office store. This thought crossed Eliza Winter's mind as she carefully counted out crumpled bills at the discount store checkout, her weathered leather wallet revealing little else inside. $27.16, the remainder of her grocery money for the week, placed into the cashier's waiting palm. "You sure about this, ma'am?" the teenage cashier asked, glancing at the modest pile of colored pencils, erasers, and notebook paper on the counter. Eliza nodded, the fluorescent lights highlighting the premature strands of silver in her chestnut hair. "They're not just supplies," she said quietly. "They're possibilities." Outside, autumn wind whipped dead leaves across the parking lot as Eliza loaded her purchases into the trunk of her aging Corolla. The car, like its owner, showed signs of dignified perseverance. Small rust spots blooming along the wheel wells, a crack extending like a river across the passenger window. She'd been substitute teaching at Westbrook Elementary for 3 months now, called in frequently enough to notice which children came to class without the basic tools for learning. The drive to her small apartment took 12 minutes, just enough time for doubt to creep in. Was she being foolish? Substitute teachers made barely enough to cover rent and utilities. Yet something about those empty-handed children, their downcast eyes when asked to take out colored pencils they didn't have, their borrowed pencil stubs worn to nubs, had haunted her all weekend. Eliza's apartment greeted her with familiar silence. 1 bedroom, sparse furnishings, walls bare except for a single framed photograph of her parents. They had been teachers too, dedicated to a profession that offered spiritual wealth rather than material comfort. Their daughter had initially chosen a different path, corporate marketing, with its promise of financial security, until the company downsizing 6 months ago had set her adrift. Substitute teaching was supposed to be temporary, a stopgap while she rebuilt her career. Yet something about those classrooms pulled at her, awakening something that had been dormant inside. On her small kitchen table, Eliza sorted the supplies into 12 individual bundles, each containing the essentials. Tomorrow she would be back in Ms. Peterson's 4th grade class, where she'd noticed at least 4 children who could use these small gifts of possibility. The rest would go into her just-in-case bag, her growing collection of emergency supplies for children in need. Sleep came fitfully that night, her dreams punctuated by calculations of remaining funds and the lingering question of how long she could sustain this unplanned generosity. Morning arrived with pale sunlight filtering through thin curtains. Eliza dressed with care, selecting her most professional outfit, navy slacks and a cream blouse she'd found at a thrift store, a silk scarf to add a touch of color. Appearance mattered when you were still proving yourself, still hoping the principal might consider you for something permanent. The 12 supply bundles fit neatly into her tote bag, each wrapped in tissue paper to provide the children dignity. Not charity, she told herself. Investment. Westbrook Elementary looked like countless schools across America. Red brick, rectangular windows, hopeful banners proclaiming, "Future leaders learn here." Inside, the hallways smelled of floor cleaner and the distinctive aroma of school cafeterias everywhere. Eliza signed in at the front office, collecting her substitute badge and Ms. Peterson's lesson plans. "Back again, Ms. Winters?" The secretary smiled warmly. "The teachers are starting to request you specifically, you know." Warmth bloomed in Eliza's chest. That's good to hear." The 4th grade classroom waited, empty and expectant. 24 desks arranged in clusters of 4, walls covered with multiplication tables and writing prompts. Eliza used the quiet morning moments to review the day's lessons and place 4 of her supply bundles discreetly in her desk drawer. Children filtered in as the morning bell approached, a kaleidoscope of energy and emotions. Some bounced with excess vigor, others dragged themselves to their seats, shoulders already burdened with adult worries no child should carry. "Ms. Winters is back." Several voices called out, and the simple recognition lifted her spirits. Among the children was Olivia Chen, a quiet girl with watchful eyes who always sat in the back row. Eliza had noticed her on previous days, always attentive, always prepared with answers, but rarely volunteering them. Today, something seemed different. The girl's shoulders hunched forward, her face partially hidden behind a curtain of straight black hair. Attendance taken, morning announcements completed, Eliza began the first lesson, a creative writing exercise about community helpers. "Before we begin," she said, "I'd like everyone to take out colored pencils and paper. We'll be creating illustrations to accompany our stories. The familiar rustle of backpacks and the zip of pencil cases filled the room. Eliza noticed the usual suspects, Tyler patting his pockets with growing panic, Madison whispering that she'd forgotten again, Jamal staring at his empty desk. And today, unexpectedly, Olivia remained motionless, eyes fixed on her desk. "Let's get started with our brainstorming," Eliza continued, moving casually toward her desk. As the children began discussing community helpers, she discreetly removed the supply bundles and moved through the classroom, pausing to help different groups. At Olivia's desk, she knelt down. "Would these help with today's project?" she asked softly, placing the tissue-wrapped bundle on the corner of the desk. Olivia looked up, surprise rippling across her face. "For me? For your project?" Eliza answered with a smile. "And for future projects, too." Small fingers unwrapped the tissue paper with unusual care, preserving it rather than tearing through. When the colored pencils, erasers, and notebook paper appeared, Olivia's expression remained controlled, but her eyes, those watchful, serious eyes, suddenly glistened. "Thank you," she whispered, the words barely audible. Throughout the day, Eliza noticed Olivia using the colored pencils with deliberate precision, creating an illustration of a firefighter with unexpected artistic skill. When the final bell rang, the girl lingered as others rushed for the door. "Ms. Winters?" Olivia approached the desk, clutching her new supplies. "Why did you give these to me?" The directness of the question caught Eliza off guard. "I noticed you might need them today," she answered honestly. "Everyone should have the tools they need to learn. My dad says we have to be careful about accepting things from people." The girl's voice carried a maturity beyond her years. "Your dad sounds wise," Eliza replied. "It's important to be cautious, but sometimes it's also okay to accept help from teachers. That's part of our job, to help students learn." Olivia seemed to consider this. "My mom used to buy me school supplies," she finally said, before she went away. The simple statement carried unmistakable weight. Eliza felt her heart constrict. "I see," she said gently. "And now?" "Dad forgets sometimes. He's really busy with the new store." Olivia clutched the colored pencils tighter. "I didn't want to bother him about it." Eliza nodded, understanding blooming. A single father, a new business, a child not wanting to add to the burden. The story was written in the careful way Olivia handled her new supplies, in the precision with which she'd preserved the tissue paper. "Would you like me to talk to your dad about it?" Eliza offered. Alarm flashed across Olivia's face. "No, please don't. He's working really hard. He doesn't need to worry about pencils, too." "Okay," Eliza assured her. "This can just be between us, teacher and student." Relief softened the girl's features. "Thank you, Ms. Winters." After Olivia left, Eliza sat alone in the classroom, the weight of the encounter settling around her. How many children carried such adult concerns? How many tried to make themselves smaller, less needy, less visible to protect parents already struggling? The next 2 weeks brought Eliza back to Ms. Peterson's classroom 3 more times. Each visit, she noticed small changes in Olivia. A tentative hand raised to answer questions, a whispered joke shared with a deskmate, illustrations growing more elaborate with practice and confidence. On the 3rd Thursday, as children filed out after the final bell, a man appeared in the doorway. Tall, with Olivia's same watchful eyes, he wore a button-down shirt with rolled sleeves revealing forearms marked with colored ink stains. "Ms. Winters?" His voice carried the slight trace of an accent. "I'm Daniel Chen, Olivia's father." Eliza rose from her desk, her heart suddenly racing with unexpected nervousness. "Mr. Chen, it's nice to meet you. Olivia is a wonderful student." He stepped into the classroom, looking around with the universal expression of adults returning to elementary school spaces, a mixture of nostalgia and disorientation at finding everything smaller than remembered. "Olivia talks about you," he said. "She says you're the best substitute teacher." Warmth bloomed across Eliza's cheeks. "That's very kind. She's a thoughtful girl." Daniel Chen's gaze settled on Eliza, studying her with the same careful attention his daughter possessed. "She also mentioned that you gave her school supplies." The statement hung between them, neither accusation nor gratitude. Eliza felt a flutter of anxiety. Had she overstepped? "I noticed she needed some items for a project," she explained. "I keep extra supplies for students who might need them." "Out of your own pocket?" His question was direct, his expression unreadable. Eliza hesitated, then nodded. "It's not uncommon for teachers to do that." Something shifted in Daniel Chen's expression, a softening around the eyes, a slight relaxation of his shoulders. "Olivia didn't tell me she needed supplies. She She tries to protect me from what she sees as extra worries. She mentioned you're busy with a new store, Eliza offered. Yes. A tired smile briefly transformed his face. Grand opening was 3 months ago. Chen Office Supply on Maple Street. It's been... He made a gesture that somehow conveyed the enormity of the challenge. Consuming. The irony of the situation wasn't lost on Eliza. She'd spent her grocery money on supplies while this man literally owned a store full of them. But the exhaustion evident in the shadows beneath his eyes, the ink stains on his hands speaking of hard work, stopped any hint of judgment from forming. New businesses take extraordinary effort, she said. Olivia clearly understands that. She's very mature for her age. Too mature sometimes, Daniel replied, a shadow crossing his features. Since her mother left? He stopped, seeming surprised by his own candor with this virtual stranger. I'm sorry, Eliza said simply. He acknowledged her words with a slight nod. I came to thank you and to give you this. He extended a business card. Please come by the store. I'd like to provide whatever classroom supplies you need at no cost. Eliza began to protest, but Daniel raised a hand. Please, it would mean a lot to me to know I'm helping other children while I've been... He searched for the right word. Distracted with my own daughter. You're doing your best, Eliza said gently. That's all any parent can do. Their eyes met, and something passed between them. Recognition, perhaps, of shared struggle, of trying to remain upright when life had tilted the ground beneath their feet. Saturday, he said suddenly. The store is quieter then. Come in the morning, and I'll help you select whatever you need. Before Eliza could respond, Olivia appeared in the doorway, her face registering surprise at finding her father there. Dad, is everything okay? Everything's fine, Butterfly, he assured her, using what was clearly a familiar endearment. I was just thanking Ms. Winters for being such a good teacher. The girl's eyes darted between them, calculating, assessing. Are you mad about the pencils? Daniel knelt down to her eye level. No, Butterfly. I'm only sad you didn't tell me you needed them. You were busy, she said simply, and worried about the numbers in your black book. Pain flashed across his face. Never too busy for you, Olivia. Never. The private moment made Eliza feel like an intruder. She busied herself organizing papers, giving them space. Ms. Winters? Daniel's voice drew her attention back. Saturday? 10 o'clock? Eliza found herself nodding. Thank you. That's very generous. After they left, she sat alone in the classroom, turning his business card over in her hands. The gesture was kind, but something about accepting felt uncomfortable, as though she'd orchestrated the situation, though of course she hadn't known about his store. Saturday arrived with unexpected nervousness. Eliza chose casual clothes, jeans and a sage green sweater, and spent extra time on her hair, telling herself it was simply professional courtesy to look presentable when accepting a business owner's generosity. Chen Office Supply occupied a modest storefront in a strip mall, large windows displaying colorful organizational systems and ergonomic desk chairs. A hand-painted grand opening sign still hung in the window, though the edges had begun to curl. A bell chimed as Eliza pushed open the door. The store was empty of customers, but meticulously organized. Shelves of notebooks arranged by color, pens displayed by type and function, a section dedicated to teacher supplies with creative bulletin board materials and lesson planning systems. Daniel emerged from a back room, a box of printer paper in his arms. He wore a blue button-down shirt with the store logo embroidered on the pocket, looking more rested than he had in the classroom. Ms. Winters? He greeted her, setting down the box. You came. Please call me Eliza, she said, suddenly finding Ms. Winters too formal outside the school setting. Eliza? He repeated as if testing the name. Welcome to my store. Not very busy, as you can see. She looked around appreciatively. It's beautifully organized. Very inviting. Thank you. Pride warmed his voice. Commercial accounts are keeping us afloat while the retail side grows. That's why the weekend hours are... He gestured to the empty store. Quieter. Is Olivia here? Eliza asked, glancing around. Art class, he explained. Saturdays from 9 to 11. She's quite talented. I've seen her drawings. Eliza agreed. She has a remarkable eye for detail. Something about this observation seemed to please Daniel deeply. Like her mother, he said softly, then quickly redirected. I've prepared a cart for you. Basic classroom supplies. Please add anything else you might need. He led her to a shopping cart already containing packages of pencils, markers, notebook paper, and erasers, at least 3 times the amount she'd purchased with her grocery money. This is incredibly generous, Eliza began, but it's too much. I couldn't possibly… Please, Daniel interrupted. Consider it payment for noticing what I missed, for caring enough to use your own money when you didn't have to. The sincerity in his voice made further protest feel ungracious. Thank you, she said simply. As they walked the aisles, adding folders and glue sticks to the cart, Daniel asked about her teaching experience. Eliza found herself sharing more than she'd intended. Her parents' teaching careers, her corporate detour, the layoff that had redirected her path. So substitute teaching wasn't your plan, he observed. No, she admitted. But there's something about being in a classroom. It feels right in a way my marketing job never did, despite the pay difference. Daniel nodded. I understand completely. I was an accountant before this. Good salary, benefits, predictable hours. What changed? Eliza asked. His expression grew distant. After Min, my wife, left, everything changed. Olivia needed more than a father who came home exhausted at 7 every night. And I needed… He searched for words. Purpose beyond numbers on a spreadsheet. They paused in the art supply section, where Daniel added a set of professional colored pencils to the cart. For Olivia, he explained. And any other artistic students you might encounter? As they continued through the store, a comfortable rhythm developed between them, Eliza explaining how certain supplies would be used, Daniel suggesting alternatives or additions based on his inventory knowledge. By the time they reached the checkout counter, the cart contained enough supplies to help dozens of children. I can't thank you enough, Eliza said as Daniel began scanning items. This will make such a difference. I should be thanking you, he replied, looking up from the register. For seeing my daughter's need when I was too preoccupied to notice. The honesty of his statement created a moment of connection that lingered as he finished bagging the supplies. When Eliza reached for the bags, their hands briefly touched, sending an unexpected warmth up her arm. Coffee? Daniel asked suddenly. There's a shop next door. Olivia won't be done with her class for another half hour. The invitation surprised her, but Eliza found herself nodding. I'd like that. The coffee shop was small and cozy, with mismatched furniture and local art on the walls. They found a quiet table by the window, steam rising from ceramic mugs between them. How long have you been in Westbrook? Eliza asked. Just over a year, Daniel replied. We moved after… His voice trailed off. After things changed. Eliza sensed the boundaries of their new acquaintance and redirected. The store is lovely. You've created something special there. Gratitude flickered in his eyes. It's still finding its footing, but it's ours, Olivia's and mine. She helps on weekends, organizing the stickers by theme. A genuine smile transformed his face. She's very particular about the proper categorization of unicorns versus horses with horns, which are apparently completely different things. Eliza laughed, picturing Olivia's serious expression as she sorted stickers. That sounds exactly like her. Their conversation flowed easily after that, discovering shared interests in historical documentaries and hiking the nearby state park. Daniel spoke of growing up in San Francisco, the son of immigrants who emphasized education above all else. Eliza shared stories of her childhood in a small town where her parents had taught at the same school for 30 years. They must be proud of you, following in their footsteps, Daniel observed. A familiar ache pressed against Eliza's chest. They would have been. They passed away 3 years ago. Car accident? Daniel's expression softened with understanding. I'm sorry. Thank you, she said quietly. It's still strange sometimes not being able to call them for advice, especially now that I'm teaching. Even temporarily, Daniel added, recalling her earlier comment. Eliza sipped her coffee. Yes, though I'm starting to wonder if temporary might become longer term. You're good at it, he said with certainty. Olivia doesn't warm to people easily, especially since… He didn't finish the thought. She trusts you. That says a lot. Before Eliza could respond, the coffee shop door swung open, and Olivia appeared, a large art portfolio clutched to her chest. Her eyes widened at the sight of her father sitting with her substitute teacher. Dad? Confusion colored her voice as she approached their table. Art class finished early? Daniel asked, checking his watch. Ms. Carla had a headache, Olivia explained, her curious gaze still moving between the adults. Ms. Winters is here? Ms. Winters, Eliza, came to the store to pick up some classroom supplies, Daniel explained. I invited her for coffee while waiting for you. Olivia nodded slowly, processing this information. Oh, would you like to join us? Eliza offered. I'd love to see what you were working on in art class today. The invitation transformed the girl's cautious expression. She pulled up a chair and carefully opened her portfolio, revealing a watercolor painting of a storefront that was recognizably Chen Office Supply, but with fantastical elements added. Flowering vines growing up the walls, butterflies hovering near the entrance, and stars sprinkled in the sky above. "It's for the store window," Olivia explained. "Dad said we need something more interesting than the grand opening sign." "It's beautiful," Eliza said sincerely. "You have a wonderful imagination." Olivia beamed at the praise. "Do you paint, Miss Winters?" "Not very well," Eliza admitted. "But I love photography, capturing moments rather than creating them." "Like what kinds of moments?" Olivia asked, her natural curiosity emerging. "Small moments that might otherwise be missed," Eliza explained. "Morning light through leaves, an elderly couple holding hands, a child's first encounter with snow." Daniel watched this exchange with a soft expression, something unreadable in his eyes. When Olivia excused herself to use the restroom, he turned to Eliza. "She hasn't been this animated in conversation for months," he said quietly. "You have a gift for drawing people out. She's easy to talk to," Eliza replied. "Very thoughtful." Daniel nodded, then seemed to come to a decision. "We're having a small gathering at our house next Friday evening. Just a few neighbors and some people from Olivia's school. Would you like to come?" The invitation caught Eliza by surprise. "Are you sure? I wouldn't want to intrude." "You wouldn't be?" he assured her. "In fact, I think Olivia would be disappointed if you declined." When Olivia returned, Daniel mentioned the invitation. The girl's face lit up. "Yes, you should come, Ms. Winters. Dad's making his famous dumplings." Faced with such enthusiasm, Eliza found herself agreeing. They exchanged phone numbers to share the address, and when they parted ways outside the coffee shop, Eliza felt a curious lightness she hadn't experienced in months. The following week brought 3 more substitute assignments, though none in Olivia's class. Eliza distributed some of the donated supplies to children who needed them, each small gift accompanied by the same dignity-preserving approach she'd used with Olivia. Friday evening arrived with a flutter of nerves Eliza hadn't anticipated. She selected a burgundy dress with 3/4 sleeves, casual enough for a home gathering but nicer than her work clothes. Her hair, usually pulled back for teaching, she left down, the chestnut waves framing her face. The Chens lived in a modest townhouse in a newer development on the east side of town. Eliza arrived with a homemade apple cake and a small gift for Olivia, a beginner's guide to watercolor techniques she'd found at the local bookstore. Daniel opened the door, the sounds of conversation and soft music flowing from inside. He wore dark jeans and a charcoal sweater, his usual workday formality relaxed into comfortable elegance. "You came," he said, echoing his greeting from the store, a smile warming his features. "Please come in." The townhouse was simply furnished but thoughtfully arranged. Photographs lined the entryway, most featuring Olivia at various ages, some including Daniel, and a few with a beautiful woman Eliza assumed was Min. Family pictures from happier times, preserved despite whatever had led to her departure. About a dozen people mingled in the living room and kitchen area. Olivia spotted Eliza immediately, weaving through adults to reach her. "Ms. Winters, you're here!" Her excitement was palpable. "Come see my room. I put up the new art supplies Dad bought me." Before Eliza could respond, Olivia had grabbed her hand, pulling her toward a hallway. Daniel caught Eliza's eye over his daughter's head, an apologetic smile accompanying a small shrug that seemed to say, "Kids?" Olivia's room reflected her personality perfectly, organized yet creative, with bookshelves arranged by color, a small desk positioned to catch natural light, and walls covered with her artwork. A new set of art supplies was displayed on a special shelf, arranged with obvious care. "Dad got me professional pencils," Olivia said proudly. "Like real artists use. They're wonderful," Eliza agreed. "Your artwork deserves quality tools." She offered the wrapped book. "This made me think of you." Olivia's careful unwrapping of the gift, the same preservation of paper she'd shown with the school supplies, tugged at Eliza's heart. When the book emerged, the girl's eyes widened. "Watercolor techniques," she breathed, already flipping through pages. "Look at all the different ways to make clouds." "I thought it might give you some new ideas for your paintings," Eliza explained. Olivia looked up, her expression suddenly serious. "Why are you so nice to me?" The directness of the question, so similar to their first meaningful exchange, momentarily stunned Eliza. "Because you're worth being nice to," she answered honestly. "All children are." Olivia considered this with her characteristic thoughtfulness. Mom used to say people are only nice when they want something. The statement, delivered in such a matter-of-fact tone, revealed volumes about the absent mother. That's not always true, Eliza said gently. Sometimes people are kind simply because kindness matters. Dad says that too, Olivia replied. He says we have to be the kindness we want to see. Your dad sounds very wise. Olivia nodded solemnly. He is. He's sad sometimes, but he tries to hide it. Before Eliza could respond to this insight, Daniel appeared in the doorway. There you are. Olivia, are you monopolizing our guest? I was showing Ms. Winters my art supplies, Olivia explained. And look what she brought me. She held up the book proudly. Daniel's expression softened. That was very thoughtful. Now, Butterfly, why don't you help Mrs. Garcia find the extra napkins while I introduce Ms. Winters to everyone? As Olivia scampered off on her mission, Daniel turned to Eliza. I apologize for her kidnapping you the moment you arrived. No apology needed, Eliza assured him. She's wonderful company. Daniel led her back to the main gathering, introducing her to neighbors, a couple of parents from Olivia's school, and his one employee who helped manage the store. To most, he simply introduced her as Eliza, Olivia's favorite substitute teacher, but Eliza noticed the curious glances from a few of the guests, particularly an older woman who studied her with unabashed interest. This woman eventually made her way to Eliza's side as Daniel went to check on food in the kitchen. So you're the teacher who noticed what our Daniel missed, she said without preamble. Mrs. Liu? Eliza recalled from the introduction. Daniel's neighbor, an unofficial grandmother to Olivia, the woman added. Since her own grandparents are back in California, she's a remarkable child, Eliza said. Mrs. Liu nodded approvingly. She is, and she needs good influences in her life. Female influences. The emphasis was unmistakable. I'm just her substitute teacher, Eliza clarified, temporarily in her classroom. The older woman's eyes twinkled with knowing amusement. Nothing is as permanent as temporary arrangements, my dear. My late husband and I were temporarily in this country for graduate school. 57 years later, she gestured expansively. Before Eliza could respond, Daniel announced that dinner was ready. The dining table had been extended to accommodate everyone, platters of dumplings, stir-fried vegetables, and noodles arranged family-style down the center. Eliza found herself seated between Olivia and Mrs. Liu, with Daniel directly across. The food was delicious, the dumplings living up to their famous reputation. Throughout the meal, Eliza felt Daniel's gaze returning to her, especially when she engaged with Olivia, helping the girl serve herself or listening intently to her stories about school. After dinner, as guests moved back to the living room for dessert, Daniel approached Eliza. Would you mind helping me bring out coffee cups? The kitchen's a bit small for a crowd. In the relative privacy of the kitchen, Daniel began arranging cups on a tray. I hope Mrs. Liu wasn't too forward, he said. She means well, but subtlety isn't her strong suit. Eliza smiled. She clearly cares about you and Olivia. She's been a lifesaver, Daniel admitted. Watching Olivia when I have late shipments, bringing over food when she decides I look too thin. A fond smile crossed his face. Surrogate family when ours is far away. It takes a village, Eliza said. It does, he agreed, then hesitated. Olivia told me about the book you brought her. That was very thoughtful. She has real talent, Eliza said. It should be nurtured. Daniel's movements stilled, his eyes meeting hers. You see her, really see her. Do you know how rare that is? The intensity of his gaze made Eliza's heart beat faster. Children often feel invisible, she said, especially when there's been... She hesitated. Trauma, he supplied. It's okay to name it. Min leaving was traumatic for Olivia. For both of us, though, in different ways. Eliza nodded, understanding. My parents' death was like that. A before and after, with nothing connecting the two worlds. Something shifted between them. Recognition, connection, the shared experience of lives cleaved into separate chapters. Would you like to... Daniel began, but was interrupted by Olivia bursting into the kitchen. Dad! Everyone's waiting for dessert and coffee? She looked between the adults curiously. Are you guys talking about grown-up stuff? The moment broken, Daniel laughed. Just grown-up stuff about how amazing you are. He teased, making Olivia roll her eyes in the universal expression of children embarrassed by parental affection. The evening continued pleasantly, with Eliza's apple cake receiving numerous compliments. As guests began departing around 9, Olivia fought valiantly against encroaching sleepiness, determined to stay awake until everyone had left. I should go too, Eliza said, noticing the girl's increasingly heavy eyelids. "Thank you for including me. It was a lovely evening. I'll walk you to your car," Daniel offered, after ensuring Olivia was settled on the couch with Mrs. Liu. Outside, the October night was crisp, stars visible in the clear sky. They walked in comfortable silence to Eliza's Corolla. "I've been meaning to ask," Daniel said as they reached the car. "Are you interested in permanent teaching positions? The school board mentioned they're reviewing applications for next semester." "I've considered it," Eliza admitted. "My substitute experience has been illuminating." "In good ways," Daniel nodded. "Olivia would be thrilled to have you as a regular teacher." "Just Olivia?" The words slipped out before Eliza could reconsider them. In the dim glow of the streetlight, she saw Daniel's expression soften. "No," he said quietly, "not just Olivia." The moment stretched between them, full of unspoken possibilities. "I should submit my application," Eliza said finally. "You should," he agreed. "And perhaps regardless of that, we could have dinner sometime? Just the two of us?" Warmth bloomed in Eliza's chest. "I'd like that." "Good," Daniel said, his relief evident. "Because I've been working up the courage to ask you since you walked into my store." Their goodbye was simple, a light touch on her arm, a promise to call about dinner plans. Yet Eliza drove home feeling as though something significant had shifted in her world. The following weeks brought changes both subtle and profound. Eliza submitted her application for a permanent position teaching 4th grade at Westbrook Elementary. Her first dinner with Daniel, at a small Italian restaurant where they talked until the staff began stacking chairs, led to a second, then a third. Each conversation revealed new layers of connection, shared values about education, similar taste in books and music, compatible perspectives on what mattered in life. Olivia, initially cautious about her father's growing relationship with her substitute teacher, gradually warmed to the idea, especially after Eliza invited her to a weekend photography expedition in the park, teaching her about composition and light the way Olivia had shared her knowledge of watercolors. By December, Eliza had received preliminary approval for the teaching position beginning in January. The supply closet in her classroom-to-be was well-stocked, courtesy of Chen Office Supply. But more importantly, her heart was fuller than it had been since losing her parents. On a snowy Sunday afternoon, Eliza helped Olivia wrap a Christmas gift for Daniel, a framed photograph they had taken together, showing father and daughter laughing in the park, autumn leaves swirling around them, their joy palpable even in the frozen moment. "Do you think he'll like it?" Olivia asked anxiously. "He'll treasure it," Eliza assured her. "It captures something real." The girl nodded, satisfied with this assessment. "Ms. Winters?" she asked, using the formal address she still maintained despite their growing closeness. "When you become my real teacher, will you still come over for dinner and stuff?" The question, with its layers of hope and uncertainty, touched Eliza deeply. "Of course I will," she promised. "If that's what you and your dad want." "It is," Olivia said with certainty. Dad smiles more now. Real smiles, not the pretend ones he used to make. Before Eliza could respond, Daniel arrived home, stomping snow from his boots in the entryway. Olivia quickly hid the wrapped gift, exchanging a conspiratorial look with Eliza. Later that evening, after Olivia had gone to bed, Daniel and Eliza sat on the couch, a fire crackling in the gas fireplace, mugs of hot chocolate warming their hands. "I received the official offer letter today," Eliza said. "4th grade starting January 3rd, Daniel's face lit up. "That's wonderful! Though not surprising, the principal told me half the faculty has requested you as a substitute. Your reputation precedes you." "It feels right," Eliza admitted. "Like I've found where I'm supposed to be." Daniel set down his mug and took her hand. "I understand that feeling." His thumb traced circles on her palm. "When you walked into my store that Saturday, something shifted, like the universe correcting its course." The sentiment mirrored Eliza's own thoughts so closely that she felt a flutter of connection deep in her chest. "For me too," she said softly. "I know it's been just a few months," Daniel continued, his voice gentle but certain, "but I've never been more sure of anything. You see Olivia, really see her. You understand what we've been through without needing all the details. You bring light into rooms just by entering them." Eliza felt tears prickling behind her eyes. "Daniel, I'm not rushing," he assured her. "Just being honest about what I feel. What we both feel, I think." "Yes," she whispered. "What we both feel." Outside, snow continued falling, covering the world in pristine whiteness, a clean slate, a fresh beginning. Inside, two people who had experienced profound loss found themselves opening to possibility again, their lives connecting through an act of kindness as simple as colored pencils wrapped in tissue paper. 3 months later, as spring buds appeared on the trees outside Westbrook Elementary, Eliza stood before her 4th grade class, no longer a substitute but their permanent teacher. On her desk sat a custom-made pencil holder crafted from polished wood, a gift from Daniel to mark her first semester review. Engraved on its side were the words that had become something of a mantra between them: small kindnesses, infinite possibilities. In the back row, Olivia Chen sat with her colored pencils arranged precisely by color, her hand raised to answer a question, confidence radiating from her once uncertain posture. Behind her on the classroom wall hung a framed photograph, the substitute teacher and the store owner's daughter, heads bent together over a watercolor painting, both faces illuminated with joy. Outside the frame, life continued unfolding in unexpected ways. A substitute position had become permanent, a temporary connection had deepened into lasting love, and school supplies purchased with grocery money had built a bridge between hearts that, once connected, found they fit together perfectly. The substitute teacher had bought supplies with her own money, not realizing a student's parent owned an office store. But what she received in return, a family, a purpose, a home for her heart, proved that the most valuable currency is not found in wallets, but in acts of kindness that ripple outward, changing lives in ways no one could possibly predict.